Ashante, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Hope you're doing well. I had another day off today, and it's been really nice. And I just got to go sort of gallivanting through the forest and got up to a little mischief and found mischief that had been had and had kind of just a good chill day. And now we are here to talk about our extended reading for today's pull this morning on Instagram. So if you don't already, you can follow me there at Liz_Taylor_Magick. And on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I do these readings earlier in the day, and then I write about them, and then we talk about them here later in the evening. So, from the Vintage Wisdom Oracle deck, we pulled Balance, we pulled Purity, and we pulled Patience. And then underneath that, we pulled Four of Cups underneath Balance. We pulled the Hierophant reversed underneath Purity. And underneath Patience, we got the Feminine King of Pentacles. So let's unpack. Excuse me. So every week during the Pisces season, it seems like we've been getting, like during the energy oracle forecast for the week that we do on Sunday nights, we've been pulling like one sort of key shadow emotion or element from the Oracle of Oddities that I think has been sort of like key, like highlighting that whatever aspect that Pisces was working on us for that week, to sort of do the deep dive and do that deep cleanse and push everything up from the surface. So I remember that we've gotten like fear and anger. I think this week was like nightmares. And I just see it as like all being like these purges, right? Every week. And they're sort of like centered on different focuses and themes. Well, I noticed too today that on a weekly basis, by midweek or like the end of the week, we've been visited by the feminine king of each suit, like one by one. In addition to, like, there is a female emperor as well, in addition to the empress and the traditional masculine emperor. So what I've been coming to the conclusion about regarding the female kings, at least as it pertains to us in this moment, like how they've been in context for the Pisces season, is that this is like the ultimate mastery of that element on our internal landscape. Like the feminine king has transcended beyond queen and beyond the status of king. And so that queen is like mastering the divine feminine aspects of the suit. The king is like mastering the divine masculine aspects of the suit, but the feminine king is like the internal holy union of the divine masculine and the divine feminine within each suit. So I went back and looked really quick before I started this video, and I know that recently we've had the female king of swords and the female king of wands. And so the female king of swords was like the mastery of our thought realm. The female king of wands was like the mastery of our determination, willpower, drive, our strength, our sense of self-esteem and self-worth, our passion. The feminine king of pentacles is the beginning of the internal state of being coming into like our outer state of being. Like the manifestation of fulfillment is happening on the inside through peace and abundance and security and joy and just love of life and passion. So these internal landscapes have been tended to. There's been healing done there. There's been discipline put in those realms to where our thoughts don't control us. We control our thoughts. We choose our thoughts. We cultivate our thoughts. Our emotional realm and our realm of motivation and inspiration, we've cultivated it with discipline so that we're not driven and controlled by our emotions completely, but that we can observe them and learn from them. We are not controlled by our sense of motivation or inspiration, but we're disciplined enough to get in there and do it incrementally, step by step. And so all of those internal virtues, or they could be virtues or vices depending on if they're out of balance, but those vices have been brought into balance, and now we have gotten those, we've brought those elemental forces within us into a virtuous state. And so now that these states are becoming more stable and secure on the inside, they are going to start, like the longer that we can sustain them in consistency without wavering, the more we have a chance, as we have fine-tuned that dial into the frequency of our station, it's giving a continuous non-interrupted signal now. So it's strong enough to draw in what we desire. My friend and I were talking today, and she pointed out that when we go through these states of testing, it's like when we're in that phase 3, or as 2B Magnetic calls it, the magic dark, it's like we've been doing all the work, but it's like crickets, and it's a testing period to see if we'll settle, right? If we'll settle for less than what we're wanting, or if we'll give up or throw in the towel. And the key is to push through with the same fervor and the same certainty and the same passion, and keep putting in effort. But what the pitfall is losing heart or losing hope at the apparent non-activity. And so then that losing hope sends the psyche into a downward spiral of disappointment, sadness, kind of like the cycles of despair. Kind of, it's just like, oh, you lose your hope, and then you get down about it, and then you're in a rut, right? And then you like kind of hit an emotional rock bottom again until you're like, oh, like jolted back into like a magic dark. Whereas if you can just cultivate a discipline to keep course correcting as fast as you can back to that inner state of fulfillment, then you are that much closer to like having that outer state of fulfillment, because you're vibrating at a consistent, stable, solid vibration. And when something is in tune with that, it can find resonance with it. So that's why it's important for us to be authentic and to find that our core authenticity and live in that way, so that we're in alignment with ourselves, and so that we're not having to work so hard against ourselves all the time. It's like when we live a life that's reflective of our true nature, then it comes naturally, and we're in a state of like bliss and harmony, and we don't have to work so hard to stay on track or in alignment, because we're setting ourselves up in a way that's natural to us, but that it like brings out the best in us. Okay, so Pisces is like pushing all this stuff up on a weekly basis. We've been sort of like facing the shadow in that realm, and then also by the end of the week kind of receiving that talisman of completion in that feminine king card. So for this particular leg of the story, I think it's just like a constant unfolding story. I don't think it's only like applicable to like the middle of this week. I just think that it's like this is the next page as we turn the page in the book. So Aries season is going to be coming up soon, and like this week we're kind of being gently stirred awake from going into these dreamy depths, so that we're ready and like in active stance to be ready to like jump on opportunities as they present like when Aries season starts, like next week. So be prepared that whatever is coming up this week is sort of serving you in a way that's trying to cleanse anything that's toxic or that's taking from your energy or your resources, or like it's causing you to like leak out energy or resources. Anything that is dense or dark that's still kind of holding you back, or that's like polluting your thoughts or your mindset, or your hopes, like getting your hopes down, or just like weighing on your heart still. Any like old resentment from the past, or like regrets and things that have held you back, or limiting beliefs. It's like the final call for that purge, because what's happening this week is our lives are like the universe and our angelic help and circumstances around us are trying to offer us ways to bring our life more into balance and purify what's not necessary, so that we can kind of get like streamlined and efficient and cut out, like separate the wheat from the chaff, and throw away what's not like serving us, or what's like getting in the way, or what's causing blocks, or what's like weighing us down, or what's, you know, costing us more than it should. And then after that, it's just up to us to have patience for a minute while the universe catches up. We're still in the end of the cycle of 2022. So things are going to be different very soon. So it's actually, so Pluto is going into the sign of Aquarius every single day. You know, I've been talking about how I've gotten that wrong every time. So Saturn is going into, I guess, Pisces, and Pluto is going into Aquarius. And so they're in their 29th degree of the sign that they're finishing up in before they go into the next house, the next sign. So lots of things are going to be changing. I think starting the 23rd, I think I have that written down. Which is kind of coming up like next week, I guess. But with that new moon in Aries, like next week's going to be a big week for like energetic shifts forward. So just have patience, right? Right now, the tension and the energy is building, and it's about to burst through. Like, it's like our manifestations and all of this energy and potential are like pushing through from the non-physical against the physical realm, and they just want to blast through so bad. This energy is just condensing into this primordial point, and basically what it is it's a mirror of the same image as when the energy, the raw unadulterated force of divine spark source light is pushing through against from the unmanifest into the manifest. And so that begins the traveling of the light down the tree of life, that diagram that I show you guys sometimes. So this is like this building sense of potential and excitement and energy that's like growing and growing and growing, and it feels like it's going to drive us up the wall. This is that growing spark of light that's pushing through the unmanifest, waiting to come into the manifest. And that this new moon of Aries coming up is going to be the birth moment of that spark of light coming through. Think of the Big Bang, right? Launching us off into this energetic year, starting us off through spring. So it's very exciting. So be patient. Things are going to be going at like, I don't know, 1,000,000 miles an hour soon. So just enjoy a moment to catch your breath while you can. Also, so 4 of Cups was underneath balance. And I think that this week we might be presented with circumstances, situations, or opportunities that we may not immediately recognize, but these are opportunities that are providing us shelter out of the rain. So we need to be careful not to be too much in that Pisces state of that dreamy moodiness, right? That sort of can get us into like this deluge of like don't get seduced by like the memories, is what Phil Good said today, which I shared shared his reel in my stories. But his video today was like a perfect like supplement to Monday's reading, which was like, don't get caught by the seduction of the sirens to be seduced in the shadows of the past, right? And so sometimes when we do that, we can get caught there. We can just sit in a pity party and be complacent and just sit in the rain instead of just getting up. There's something offering us shelter. There's something offering us assistance. There's unusual, like in the traditional artwork in the tarot, the Four of Cups is like a person sitting under a tree, and they're focused on the spilt 3 cups in front of them, while a hand is offering them the Ace of Cups behind them, like a new opportunity, a new chance at like emotional satisfaction and renewal. But this person is so fixated on the cups that are falling over that they're just displeased with, that they don't see this opportunity or the offer behind them. So there could be something offering up an opportunity to you this week. So be careful not to just sit there and turn your back on life, but turn around and face it. Because the Dancer up here, the way these are arranged in the picture that I will share at the end of this video, the Dancer is looking forward into this Purity card, which is like a brighter, warmer spring afternoon feeling. And she's dancing in this direction, whereas this person looks like they're just like kind of like preoccupied with like facing the past or what's already behind them in comparison to the rest of these. And then the Patience card, she's standing looking straight ahead, but she's also covering her eyes. And she's standing very like sturdy and still in that position. And I like that she's covering her eyes, because this is reminiscent of talking about like the sages and the prophets in the Bible when they would go blind in their later life. And that lesson was meant to mean this: everything that we see in the outside world is an illusion. Everything begins, like we co-create everything that we see outside of us. Everything is changeable that we think is so solid. And so it all starts at a seed level. And that seed level is flavored and determined by our consciousness at which that seed is planted, or during which that energy is like set into motion. So we can co-create the reality that we desire, but we cannot pay attention to what we see in the outer world, because like we said earlier, it will knock you out of creation phase 3, because it will cause you to have fear, lack, and doubt. The circumstances that we see that seem so real are not actually. They're just an illusion, and they're there to trick us in the game. But what we need to know is that when we close our eyes, we just keep focused on that vision that we want to achieve and that feels real to us. And we can feel it, like we can feel ourselves already in it. And so you focus on the inner voice within and that guidance, and don't pay attention to what the outside world is telling you. That way you don't get depressed, you don't get disappointed, you don't have despair. You're not comparing, you're not in the comparison game. You're just staying in your lane. You're putting blinders on to the illusions of the outer world, and you're being led and you're being guided, and you're focused on the outcome that you want to create. And you trust, and you have patience. And when you have trust and certainty, you can afford to wait patiently in tranquility, because you know that what is really yours, what is truly meant to be yours, is always going to be set aside and protected from you. It will not pass you up. It will be yours, and it is protected. And whatever's not yours, it's never going to bring you fulfillment. And you can force it into your life, but it's going to create chaos and suffering in some fashion. So I have gone to the point where I'm just like, okay, cool. Lead me to what's mine and truly mine, and I can leave the rest. Whatever is not meant to be mine, that's fine. I can tell you what I want in my prayers. I can state preferences, but ultimately, I let go. I let God lead me, because I know that the divine path is going to lead me to my ultimate fulfillment. And that is when you can have the fulfillment of your manifestations materialize, but also feel fulfilled while you're having them. Because many times people get their dreams come true, they get what they want, fame, glory, wealthiness, like wealth and riches, whatever, acclaim, prestige, titles. But when they get those things, they realize that they feel the same, that they're not satisfied, that once the high of like the buzz kind of wears off, that they just feel like the same person and they have the same problems essentially. So real fulfillment is when you find fulfillment on the inside first, and then you'll realize that after that, the things that fulfill you on the outside come to fruition. And it's great because you already had the fulfillment. So you just have more fulfillment, and you can be fulfilled whether or not you have that thing or not. So there's no real resistance against it. As these pieces and parts are moving and being set into motion this week to purify your life of influences that are holding you back or preventing you from having the best new start, go at it from a non-traditional method. The Hierophant reversed talks about going against tradition or splitting off from the group. So when the Hierophant is upright, it talks about being in line with traditions, going with conventionally accepted wisdom. But when it's upside down, this is about the individual. This is about being individualistic and pioneering and going off away from the group, or being a lone wolf, or being innovative or a revolutionary. But it is about going against traditionally accepted wisdom, or going against the rule book, or kind of throwing the rules out the window, or being willing to go against the grain. But this is about independent thought and independent action, away from the expectations of tradition or duty. And then patience, as I love that she's like crowned and surrounded by all of these flowers, and then so is she. But I love this. So just patience as the physical manifestation, the physical fruition of your life is coming into being. It takes a minute for flowers to grow. Everything in season. And so right now, spring is beginning to bloom, slowly but surely. So have patience as your life starts to bloom, as it starts to grow. Enjoy each step of the way. Each phase of the journey has its own beauty to offer and its own benefits that won't be there during the next phase. So enjoy this moment, for every moment is fleeting. All right, y'all, I hope that you have a good rest of your night, and I am going to have a nice bath and have a nice little dinner and relax and hopefully go to bed early and have a really good productive day off tomorrow as well. All right, ciao. I forgot to mention that this opportunity that might come knocking might require a little bit of a balancing act at first. It might require a little bit of discipline and hard work. It might keep you on your toes a little, but in the end, it might actually be worth it. So whatever's being presented before you this week, just take your time as you weigh out the pros and cons, or how you feel about it. Just really use your inner wisdom and discernment and allow yourself the space to come to a peace about it without feeling rushed or urgent. Remember, we're trying to lean on that sense of certainty and trust to give us time to pause and not be reactive, but to really choose how we want to show up and respond. So don't be afraid of the situation if it requires that you balance some things out, or if it's like got you on your little tippy toes at first and it takes some hard work and effort, a little bit of discipline, because maybe it's just the initial beginning of that, but maybe it'll all even out in the end. Okay? See ya.